This week on Supercars Talk, it's another domination by Shane van Gisbergen. Once again, this week there is a lot to cover, including the racing, so I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try and get through the news very, very quickly. So here goes. Super 3 are going to be allowed to race in the 12-hour. Will be interesting to see how they stack up against the GT3 competition and how they go over the 12 hours. Too bad it's not going to be the current cars. It will be, the Super 3 cars, but will still be interesting to see. Bryce Forward had a new pink look this weekend. They will be going back to that bluey kind of one for the other night race at Wanneroo. Too much pink. I'm not sure about those lightning things down the side of the car. It doesn't quite hit the spot for me. I think the Middies car the last couple of years looked, they really knocked it out of the park there at WAU. Just a little bit disappointed because generally Brad Jones's paint jobs are pretty good. The Groves are looking at doing a wild card or two with Max Payne this year. Does make sense because they've got a Mustang sat there spare. He does need the experience. I get the feeling that it's too early. Just looking at his Super 2, I'd be looking at him as a 2-3 kind of year thing. Also, will he get the super license to be able to do the wild cards? So there's another little bit of news of that coming up. I just think it's a little bit too early. I think they should be looking at this as a 3-year kind of program. This is a learning year in Super 2. Next year, we go for a full tilt at the championship and do some wild cards. Of course, the Gen 3 throws a bit of a spanner in there and then a progression the year after. But that's the way I'd be looking at it if it was me. It feels like they're putting too much pressure on this young kid's shoulders. Yes, Feeney has kind of stepped up, which I'll get into later, but he also has the backing of, the number one team in the field, whereas, the Groves are still building, so I don't want to see too much pressure put on him at this point in his career. Speaking of the super license system, they have changed it a little bit for Baz to keep him happy. Apparently this change was already in the works. It wasn't anything to do with what Barry Rogers came out and said last week. Now, the big change is that you don't have to do 6 Super 2 rounds to get your super license. Previously, even if you met the points, I think you still had to do 6 Super 2 rounds to prove that you could drive a supercar. Apparently now that's been taken away. The points weighting has been changed a little bit. Now S5000 gets the same points as Super 2 and TCR gets the same points as Super 3. So there is a bit of an advantage of doing those the Speed Series rounds, the Stan rounds. Of course, this just means that the S5000 field that's just going to be out of the park, expanding. There's going to be like 40 cars at every race now that you've got your super license points from it. Of course, I'm being a little bit sarcastic there. A little interesting tidbit as well on the side. Supercars Championship gets super license points towards getting a super license for the Supercars Championship. But if you do 3 Supercars rounds within a 3-year period, you automatically get a super license. So I'm not sure why you need to get points from it. I know they are the points that go towards like the F1 super license system, but yeah, it just seems weird that the Supercars get points towards their own super license. Seems backwards, that one. Timmy Blanchard has said he would step aside from co-driving duties if they could find a better co-driver for Tim Slade at Bathurst. I can hear people jumping up and down saying, this person, that person, etc., etc. But in all seriousness, though, if you look at, budgetary, because if there is someone better than Blanchard, you're probably going to have to pay them, where Blanchard's probably not so much being paid to do that job. Who would you pick as a better choice than Tim Blanchard in that car? I'd love to hear other people's thoughts, because I had a bit of a quick think and I couldn't really think of anyone that, obviously, if you could afford it, you'd go out and buy someone, like you'd go and buy Tander or Lowndes or someone like that. But yeah, just have a proper think about it, and give me a name of someone who's really going to come for free or with a budget. Yeah, the list, I think the list would be very small of someone, because Timmy does a pretty good job considering all things. It looks like the ergonomics of the Gen 3, the Camaro at least, have been fixed. It seems that all the bigger guys seem to be getting in the Camaro. I don't know why this was a problem in the first place. Triple Eight are the ones who have been doing the build of the Camaro, and they've got the biggest driver there in the team. So apparently, Garth Tander's a little bit taller, and I think Brody's a little bit bigger. But essentially, I would have thought, you've kind of... Shane, appropriate at the moment. Shane, you're in the workshop today. Just have a sit in the Camaro. How do you like the seating position? I don't know how this became a thing that Shane was cramped in the car. I would have thought a team like Triple Eight would have had a bit more pre-planning on something like this. Yeah, just seemed a bit strange that it got this far down the track before they realised that, hey, the bigger drivers don't kind of fit. Apparently that's all fixed now though, and there is there has been some of the chassis made already, so they're down that production side of things a little bit. Obviously there's other parts that still need to be signed off and that, so then, it's not like they're all running around with cars. But the plan is that all teams will have at least one car, and then, like Tickford and Brad Jones Racing will have 2 cars available to them before the end of the year to do testing. So it's not like, some of the guys are going to have cars at the start of next year. The plan is that everyone will be able to take a car out for testing before the end of the year. Now, on to the racing for the weekend. If you looked at the results, you might have said not much happened, but yeah, there was a lot happened, even though we just had one winner over the weekend. Once again, he's operating on a different level to everybody else, but first things first, knockout qualifying was back on the Saturday. It's just a lot of faff for not too much, in my opinion. Of course, I love seeing the cars go around the track. My suggestion would be, rather than having this knockout, we go and have more like that 60-60 kind of format. If you want to, if we want to have the cars on the track for, say, 2 hours on the Saturday, we go out, have your normal, 10-minute qualifying session, out you go. Maybe even bring it back a bit, like have an 8-minute qualifying session, and then maybe aim to have 2 30-minute races, say, which obviously that's not 2 hours on the track, but you probably find that a 42-lap race around Symmons, I think they're 44, anyway, 44 I think, plus your knockout kind of junky qualifying, you're probably about an hour and a half on the track. So if you've got 2 8-minute qualifying sessions and 2 30-lap races, maybe 25, something short and sharp, doesn't even have to have a pit stop in it, but I think I'd prefer to see that than the knockout. It seems to drag out a long way, and what I really hate about it is they go out in the Q1 session, and now we've got 25 cars, so it's 5 cars eliminated instead of just the 4 from last year, which that was really pointless. But it just seems really pointless. There's guys who go out and set, Shane Van Gisbergen goes out and sets a banker lap in, the top few positions, and there's no point in him going out for the rest of the session because he knows he is that safe because it's only 5 cars getting knocked out. If he knocked out, say, 9 and then 8, so it was a bit more evenly spread so that you had, 8 in the top session, 8 in and 9 in the worst part knocked out, but at least, around that 15th kind of position, there's a big battle there for those guys. So it puts a little bit more stress onto that Q1, whereas it seemed a lot of guys were just like, we're cruising, you've got your 2 premier cars and that, the back half of Brad Jones Racing and Tickford and things like that, they're down there. We don't have to worry about a second run. We can just, cruise around and set a lap time that's going to get us through this first session. I'd prefer to see, if we have to have this knockout qualifying, I'd prefer to see a little bit more emphasis on that, the first session where there is a little bit more tension in it. So in race one, we once again we got to see Davo get his elbows kind of out a bit off the start. Had a bit of a battle with Brody on lap one for second position. It's just a nice change from, you know, Davo's a bit soft over the years, but yeah, he just seems to be getting in there and having a bit of a crack at it. Shane Van Gisbergen, although qualifying wasn't the best, he just slowly worked his way, picking off everyone, worked to the front, and, you know, that's basically it for the rest of the race. We did get to see Davo, he did the undercut on Waters, which worked quite well. Didn't quite get past Shane Van Gisbergen, and then it was just, you know, plain sailing on that, obviously. Reynolds and Anton De Pasquale, they stopped really early. Undercut worked really, really, really well for them. They did drop back a bit towards the end of the race, but yeah, that I was surprised at how powerful that undercut was around Symmons. A little bit of a surprise over the weekend, the Brad Jones Racing pit stops were... yeah, they were just a little bit very unlike them, and they did end up dropping Jaime on three wheels. Apparently, they'd accidentally pushed the button to say that the wheel change was done, dropped the car. They made a bit of a change to the wheel gun for Sunday to stop that from happening again. Right at the end of the race, we did get to see a little bit of a hip and shoulder there coming out of the hairpin for Frosty and Dave Reynolds. Frosty got a 15-second penalty in the end for it, which, yeah, okay. They were all friends about it. Oh, we're best friends. No, like, friend, crashing friend. You know, yeah, well, come on, guys. Like, get angry with each other. Jazz got in the middle of it and, yeah, destroyed his car. Percat, yeah, he had some issue of some description. Walkinshaw would just seemed a bit lost all weekend. Yeah, 23rd and 24th for that race. Yeah, my prediction of them kind of, you know, battling with Triple Eight for the wins this weekend wasn't even close. Race 2, and Brock Feeney, considering I said he was, you know, going to struggle around here with it being a bit of a bull ring and, you know, they'll box him out and whatever, yeah, beautiful start, and off he went. And then LeBrock and Jaime tangled and, you know, their wheels interlocked or whatever. Both of them went off, but yeah, what was, you know, an inconspicuous kind of incident, a lot of damage to Jack LeBrock's car, massive effort from MSR to turn that around and actually get it to the start of race 3, although it didn't all go to plan there, but yeah, just, yeah, massive effort there, really well done. There was a red flag, and then off the restart, Shane kind of dive-bombed Brock, and then off he went into the distance, but funnily enough, Feeney got the undercut then in the pit stops. Shane came back through. Feeney then kind of looked like he moved aside to let Shane through rather than battling it out. There was a speed difference there. So, but yeah, Feeney ended up taking that second step on the podium. Just, yeah, well done, because I thought if this was going to be the weekend probably where we'd see him struggle, and he definitely didn't. I have definitely underestimated him for this season. The big incident of the race, Jack Smith, Jake Kostecki and Macaulay Jones had a crash at the hairpin. No, nobody cared, because you're battling for the back of the field. The big one was Slade and Waters. This could have been mammoth. As, you know... I assume everybody's seen it, but yeah, Waters kind of escorted him at the kink there on the back straight. And I was flashing back to, I think it was about 2011, with Davo and Jamie Whincup at Phillip Island, where Davo got shoved off and then nailed Jamie Whincup at the hairpin. Yeah, I could see that a massive, massive accident happening. Slade got airborne over the bump in the grass. Yeah, I just can't believe that, you know, spun it around or whatever, and off he went and kept driving. And in the end, he didn't actually lose that much. Cam ended up having a drive-through penalty and definitely finished behind him in the race. Slade was pretty angry afterwards. I can imagine why, but also, the way everyone kind of goes through there, it's surprising that this doesn't happen more often. It was just probably surprising how ferocious, I suppose, that accident was. The little glimmer of hope for the weekend for Walkinshaws in this race was that Chaz started 16th, ended up finishing 4th. That was probably helped a little bit. Only 19 finishes. Very, very strange in this day and age that there were so many that didn't finish, and you kind of go, there's only 6 cars. But that is very, very odd in this day and age. In the end, of course, Van Gisbergen won. First podium for Feeney and first podium for the Groves with Reynolds in 3rd. And Holdsworth was 9th in that race as well, which, the Groves are actually doing better than what I expected this year. I think I placed them, just about last in the, I think I had them about 18th and 19th or something in the standings. But as I've said, Reynolds is a very, very, him and Slade and probably Heimgartner are very, very hard ones to pick because, they could well go out and win races, but you could also see them qualifying, pretty much on the last row as well. So, they actually seem to be moving towards the front though. The pace doesn't seem to be bad. For race 3, we had the Slade Shane Van Gisbergen crash in qualifying. I don't know what was going on there. If someone can explain it to me. Slade got penalised for it. He did lose his fastest time, so he went from 9th to 10th on the grid. Not really big penalty. Obviously, Shane, I think he only ended up qualifying 3rd or something. Of course, it wasn't an issue for him. He still just drove through and went on to win the race. But the start of the race, MSR starting 2nd and 4th. Well, where did they? I mean, we shouldn't be surprised because these guys have been chipping away at it. But geez, were we really expecting that kind of performances? And especially with the Brock's car, what happened in race 2 then to be starting off front row. Anyway, got the jump, off he went. Just made Davison look, it didn't look, Davison the veteran. Massive lockup though going into hairpin. Not sure if that was something to do with what had happened or maybe pushing too much, it was a very short-lived. It was a very, very exciting lap and a half for Matt Stone Racing before it kind of came crashing down to reality a little bit. Hazelwood did stay up the front though the whole race for them. Jack LeBrock's results not so good over the entire weekend. The other little incident for the race, Holdsworth got an unsafe pit release for coming out on Fullwood. There was no contact or anything. It didn't. I'm not sure what the penalty was for. If you know, can you? Because I thought there had to be contact for there to be a penalty in the pits there. In the end, though, of course, Shane Van Gisbergen won. The 2 DJR cars were on the podium behind him, so not a bad weekend overall for DJR, but just utter Shane Van Gisbergen domination. That I suppose we've kind of got used to. It probably even looks worse this year because you haven't got the second Triple Eight car banging on right behind him. That Jamie or Shane have basically been doing all the winning for the last forever in those cars. So we just got quite used to it. It's just he's probably looking slightly even better this year because. Is the competition quite as good this year? DJR is knocking on the door there, but I think Shane just had pace in hand all weekend, and if he needed to, he could have just turned it up and gone a lot further. Tickford looks like a basket case. Walkinshaws is just up and down at the moment. Brad Jones Racing, we've kind of gone missing. Team 18, and MSR and the Groves are doing a reasonable job, and they're actually looking really, really competitive right now. And are they doing such a good job, or is it just that, you know, like, as I said, Tickford just seems to be an absolute basket case at the moment. So, yeah, but Shane Van Gisbergen doing Shane Van Gisbergen things and just dominating the whole weekend. I don't think we really need to sit there and go through the championship points. I'll put them up on the screen there, I think. Shane is leading from the DJR pair. Chaz has gone down to 4th. Yeah, it's still very early days. You know, it could twist and turn. You know, Shane could fall off his bike and break his shoulder and, you know, have to sit. Oh, wait, he doesn't. He's, you know, the fucking Terminator. So off he goes and doesn't have to worry about those kind of things. But down in the comments, let me know what you think. Looks like we're going to be doing the live streams on Thursday nights, probably around that 8 o'clock kind of mark, if anyone is interested. We have figured out how to set it, so there is a bit of a warning thing, so I will set it up so there is a bit of a warning when it is going to start. It's if you're missing out on it, don't worry. It is, you know, me and Trav, that slot car guy, just kind of talking crap for about an hour. It's not a Supercars focused thing. It's probably a bit more F1 focused. But yeah, it's been great fun with, you know, people coming in and asking us questions and that. So it's a great time. You can come in, ask us motorsport questions, anything like that. You know, you can ask us how our day went, or, you know, what are we wearing, or something like that. You can normally see what we're wearing anyway because we're on video, but, you know, it's whatever you want. Yeah, it's just a bit of fun on a Thursday night, a bit of a catch up. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. As I said, there will be an announcement there for subscribers. As well, once again, I haven't got a mug with me. If you saw my Instagram post, I am using one of the mugs at work. I finally got around to doing that. But I do have mugs available. Shoot me an email if you are interested, and I'll tell you you can get your hands on one. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed the racing over the weekend. I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.